Hello, Jane Welsh here with the Vancouver Ballet Society's Stories from Our Archives, celebrating our 75th anniversary. Previously, I told you about beautiful BBC-born star Ian Gibson, whose spectacular talent didn't survive the war. Today, I'll talk about Robert Lindgren, the last ballet star launched out of June Roper's studio here in Vancouver. Like Ian Gibson, Robbie was born under the cloud of war, but he was just that bit younger and maybe tougher. Lindgren found his way to stardom, and it appears that he then lived out the 50s idea of marriage and happiness ever after, in family, meaningful work, and suburban bliss. Robbie to his friends, Lindgren was born in Vancouver in December 1923. His path was set as a boy when he went to see Ian Gibson dance in Coppelia at the Royal Theatre in Victoria in 1936. The production is legendary, the first mount of Coppelia in North America. The producer, local dance teacher Dorothy Wilson, got the original score from France and had it translated. It was a giant project for Depression-era Victoria, and records tell us that it was good. Production and performance values. The sets were patched together with old opera pieces by a young painter named Jack Shadbolt. And by the way, the Royal Theatre, designed by William Doyley in 1912, is still operating today. Robbie, then 13, enrolled in Dorothy Wilson's school in Victoria, where Ian Gibson, his hero, had trained. A few years later, Dorothy Wilson took over June Roper's studio in Vancouver at the back of the foyer. Lindgren followed, and during the transition, he was coached by June Roper, making him the last of the stars that were launched by her. By then, his role model Ian Gibson had danced 2 seasons with Ballet Russe and had moved on to American Ballet Theatre. June facilitated a contract offer for Robert with Ballet Russe, but due to the war, he was unable to get a visa to go to the US. So he continued training for 2 more years in Vancouver while working in the aircraft industry. Robert joined American Ballet Theatre for 2 seasons, but he too disappeared into the Royal Canadian Air Force. At war's end, unlike Ian, Robbie was in good enough shape to go directly into Ballet Russe, where he quickly became a lead. Over the next 8 years, he danced every ballet in the repertoire and partnered many of the great pre-war ballerinas. Critics noted he excelled in the exotic, virile roles of Fokine and Massine. Reputedly, he was compelling in the role of the Golden Slave in Scheherazade. So he was sexy in the overtly Orientalist works that were stock in trade for Ballet Russe. First produced by Diaghilev in the early part of the 20th century, the public were enraptured by these ballets. By the post-war era, the vibe for these ballets was somewhat dated, but they put bums in the seats, and the war had caused something of a hiatus in creative evolution. In 1952, Lindgren married Ballet Russe dancer Sonia Arova, an American. They couldn't have known what a success their marriage and partnership would be. But they were smart right from the start. They contracted as a pair, on Broadway, in TV, as well as ballet. On their return from Alexandra Danilova's Great Moments of Ballet tour in 1956, Balanchine was practically at the airport with offers to join New York City Ballet. They were stars, New York royalty. In 1960, they left it all behind to start a family and open a school in Phoenix, Arizona. 2 daughters later, the new North Carolina School of the Arts invited them to Salem Winston, Robert as Dean of Dance and Sonia as Senior Teacher. Their new life, bucolic and amply resourced, was suited to raising children and training artists. There was a brief return to New York when Lincoln Kirstein offered Robert the directorship of the School of American Ballet. But they soon returned to their lovely jobs and lives in Salem Winston, where they apparently lived happily ever after. Teaching legacy, according to Anna Kissagoff, their students joined American Ballet Theatre, Merce Cunningham, New York City Ballet, Paul Taylor, and overseas, particularly Yuri Killian, took many of their dancers into Netherlands dance theatre. So it goes, as it has and ever will, in dance, body to body into the future. Robert Lindgren died at age 89 at home in Salem, Winston. Sonia Arova passed away in 2018 at age 90. I'm Jane Welsh for the Vancouver Ballet Society. Thank you for watching.